we're tossing stuff out there trying to beg you to respond to us.
Yeah.
You knocked at the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're opening that door, and then you ran away.
If your wedding film could look like any movie, what would that movie be? If somebody extends their left hand to me, I don't trust them. It's a weird move, man. Hey everybody, welcome to Ask the Videographer. My name is Carson, this is Ann, this is Devante, and we are MV Wedding Films. This is a show where we answer all the questions, the burning questions about wedding videography. So we're just gonna tackle some pretty general topics here today, but if you have any questions about wedding videography that you'd like answered from some professionals, then leave them down in the comments. So let's get into it.
I wanted to share, kind of a story that something happened to me the other day, and I just wanted to get your feedback. I was reaching out to a planner and trying to get us involved in a final walkthrough for this big wedding that we're doing. And somebody we'd worked with before, and I asked if we could be part of the final walkthrough, and it was already done. And that's kind of our big thing. That's how we prepare for a wedding. Is all three of us go to a walkthrough. We get to meet the client one-on-one. We see pictures and stuff on wedding websites, but, seeing them a couple of months before is just a different experience.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt left out. It was like, so when am I going to have the opportunity? When are we going to have the opportunity to meet this couple, get to know them, and see how they react to the venue before the day of?
Yeah. Because
that's just awkward, walking into a bridal suite or wedding suite, and it's the first time you've set eyes on somebody, and they are halfway through their makeup in a white negligee or shorties or something.
Yeah.
And it just makes everybody kind of uncomfortable. So I just want to kind of talk about that, maybe see what we can do to change that perception that we're kind of these people way off in the distance that just show up on the day of. And just kind of wanted to get you guys' feedback to help me respond to, couples and to wedding planners a little bit better.
Yeah, well, the first thought that comes to mind is, the more chances we get to talk to our couples in person or on call is so important to getting to know them. And so going to these site visits and getting to find different ways to connect with them and learn more about them is super important. And so when we don't get that, as a filmmaker, my thought is I'm trying to find ways to highlight, their personality and their story in general. So, when we start to lose that, then on the day of the wedding, we're at a loss.
Yeah, and it seems like that comes from, the different treatment. There's a very different treatment that photographers get versus how videographers are treated by planners, by couples, just how it's thought of. And I think that's because photography has always kind of been I don't want to say cinematic, but fairly cinematic art form. It's pretty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been part of the wedding industry since
Absolutely.
Photos happened.
Absolutely.
And video and cinema is still kind of new.
Yeah. I think stylized is the word I'm looking for. Stylized photography has been around for a very long time in weddings.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
Mm-hmm. The video as a part of weddings is fairly new in general, but it's also documentary in nature, and that's how it started.
Yeah.
And so that's, I think, just how people treat it. Because you can shoot a documentary wedding in that kind of old-fashioned style like that. You don't have to meet the couple on the on the site visit or anytime prior. Just show up and shoot what you see. But since the business has changed, nobody else has really changed around it, or just other vendors. And I think it's just information people don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a lingering thing from that time period, especially with the documentary films, because they're just used to us showing up, filming, leaving, and then just providing, a 2-hour edited video of the ceremony and reception.
Exactly.
But now what we're doing is crafting this story, and it's unique to the couple, and as people are seeing us on the day, as filmmakers, they're not seeing the end product. They're not understanding why we need good sound. They're not understanding why we need to have, more time outside of the festivities to get those shots of the couple, those romantic shots together, right? There's a disconnect, right?
Yeah.
And so what happens is, like in your instance where, we didn't get to go to that site visit. So now, we could have had something planned maybe for the venue, drone shots, or some cool idea that we could do on the day that we could plan for to have the couple involved with, So we get to lose that aspect of it where we can prepare beforehand.
Yeah. Well, and what I'm doing is I reached out to the couple themselves, and I didn't feel awkward about doing that because the couple reached out to us, and it wasn't just the planner, and the planner did not ask me not to talk to the couple because you have to respect those relationships. So I reached out to the couple and I said, hey, understand that you've already been through your final site through. Are you going to walk through? Are you going to be back in town? If you are, then, I'm glad I'll call the venue. We'll set it up. Not a problem. Or, worst case scenario, at least we can meet you virtually and, have a half an hour talk. You can walk us through the timeline, talks about your hopes and dreams for the day, what you're nervous about, what you're excited about. Is there any surprises? That's a huge part of it, if the groom is planning something or if the bride is planning something or if the couple is surprising their guests, either their wedding party or the guests with something. These are things that we all need to be prepared for.
Yeah.
And if we don't know that they're happening, then we can't make the most of it. We can't make it bloom. So, and I would love to get timelines before the week of, because that's kind of the standard, right?
Yeah.
We get timelines maybe the Monday or Tuesday before a Saturday wedding.
Yeah.
And again, that doesn't give us a lot of time to plan. So one thing what we brought up the other week was crafting a survey, questionnaire, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle of doing that. Putting maybe like 10 questions together. And so if we're caught and we can't go through the site visit, they can't get on us virtually because they're out of the country, they're busy, they get family, whatever. At least then we can have some kind of written document that talks about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And didn't you have a really great idea, Carson, for one of the questions on there?
Well, I think one of the questions, there's a few question ideas I thought would be just necessary, but one that I thought would be fun, that would get people into it, because I think a big issue with the information and couples getting the information that we're trying to give them of like, please just talk to us more. That's all we want from you, is just to talk to us more. Because I think they would if they knew that. If they knew that we could deliver at a higher level if they did that.
Yeah.
So I think something that can just relate it is, if your wedding film could look like any movie, what would that movie be? And just like your favorite movie or a movie that you think stylistically looks really cool. Like I want my wedding to be a Wes Anderson movie, or I want my wedding to be The Notebook, or whatever it is.
Right.
And,
or music even. So the look, the music too.
Absolutely.
Or the tension, if there's tension in it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even editing style, like Edgar Wright. Like, what if you wanted, some getting ready footage that was very Edgar Wright style?
Yeah.
Lots of montage and
crazy fast paced. Yeah.
And I really think it's just people not thinking certain things are possible because it's a wedding film.
Right.
It really can be anything you want. It can be, an enhanced version of yourselves.
Absolutely.
If that's what you choose, then that's what we'll provide. But it's cool to get out of the box sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. They have the opportunity to craft something that is totally theirs, totally unique, and we can go from everything from the super timeless look of like Sound of Music running through the fields, right?
Yeah.
We can always do that look, but then we can also do, the other end.
Yeah.
Something really, to black and white, to a vintage look, to like you said, like whatever, gothic. We have some couples that have been very goth.
Yeah.
And the possibilities there would have been so fun. Yeah, I think you're right. I think just letting people know that the opportunities are endless.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole purpose of like a survey or something. And make that this whole survey experience as fun as humanly possible. Like all fun questions. No like, meat and potato standard questions. Because that's really what I think we'd want to know about them is their personality. That's the one thing we're trying to get to fastest.
Yeah.
So rather than, how long have you been together? Which is all that stuff is necessary to know at some point, for sure. But the stuff that I find more importance in is like, oh, this means a lot to me.
That's great.
I think the super fun survey is great. Because then they don't feel limited.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't want them to limit themselves before they come to us.
Right.
We want to open that box and let those ideas flow.
Yeah. Because I think just people are fun and they want to have fun. So if you give them the opportunity, then they'll take it.
Yeah.
And if all they've ever seen is the running through the meadow kind of films, then that's what they'll expect.
Yeah.
Because they just don't know that the running through Hollywood Cemetery at midnight is a possibility.
That was super fun.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when maybe the situation is that we're being contacted by not the couple or only one member of the couple, it's like what we'd like to do is get the whole both members of the couple involved in what we do or just at least excited about it.
Yeah.
And so that's why the relationships with planners are so important, is because they're that extra buffer that can, if the mother of the bride is the ones that contracted us, we might not have gotten much contact with the bride, or with either member of the couple. So it's the planner, that relationship we could have with the planner that could get us that access potentially. Exactly. So that's why that's so important.
Yeah. And then we can serve the planner better too.
Yeah.
Because we've talked a million times about, wouldn't it be great if we could have the opportunity to plan beforehand with the planner or the person or the day of coordinator, just to even get some BTS footage. With this as important video content is now, I think they would love to have just 20 seconds of how they interact with the couple, or being in charge, or directing, or seeing them direct a wait staff that's in the middle of a flip. That would be like, I think it would be so fun. And we have those opportunities too, and we would love to be of service to the vendor community a lot more than we are.
Because 20 seconds of high quality video goes a real long way on your website.
Oh, absolutely.
You put that on your website and or integrate it into your website, boom, just takes it to a different level.
Yeah. Instagram, TikTok, dress it up, show it off.
Absolutely.
So then you got a million different followers. And it goes viral and you're famous. So we'll work on that. We'll work on the survey.
Yeah.
Talk to some of the planners and the venue coordinators.
Yeah.
They're just as important. See if we can't get out in front of that. And do a better job on our end communicating with them that, here, we really want to be involved.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. I don't think they know that we really want to be involved. They just think, they're just used to videographers being in the background.
Yeah.
And not being an integral, active part of the day.
Yeah.
And that's where we want to be.
Yeah. And I mean, just the other thing about that communication and getting them involved is you can do cool things outside of style. You can do cool additions to your film that you wouldn't have thought to do otherwise, like have interviews with people at your wedding, with guests at your wedding, or have a private letter reading. We want to go to some place specifically private and pretty for a reading of a heartfelt letter, something like that.
Right.
All
or you
those
could just
details.
talk to your potential spouse through the camera about the wedding day.
Love
Just
that.
a kind of a face-to-face
Absolutely.
kind of thing would be great. Or even parents to contribute. We did that at one wedding. We did that. We interviewed the parents beforehand. We got them to talk about the couple. And God, it just put a whole nother dimension on their film. And they'll treasure that forever. Because here they are. They have their parents talking, living, laughing, being together as a couple on their wedding day. I think that's just really special.
Yeah, and there's something about that that's so surprising, that the couple sometimes doesn't get to see that when it happens. So by the time they either see the film or see the footage, that's like another extra special moment.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's a total surprise.
At that wedding rehearsal that we shot in Charlottesville, that really opened my eyes to that style specifically of getting those interviews, like those private interviews, because we shot a bunch of those there, and once you assemble them all together, it's a really cool thing that I don't think a lot of people even know is possible these days, because I think it's that shift away from documentary style filmmaking at events. So that's also taken the interview stuff with it.
Right.
So that's gone by the wayside with it. I'd like to bring some of that back, because I think it stands the test of time. It's like such a great thing to have. Like your mom saying some, nice words before your wedding day. That's incredible.
Yeah. Exactly. The friends. I mean, anybody. I mean, all those guests who are there mean something to you for some reason or another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think sometimes people, they only think about the visual, but they forget that the audio part of it. Because if you didn't get video, once the day is over, you might forget those moments that you had. Not just seeing them, but hearing them as well.
Right. Like your great-grandmother's laughter. She made it all the way from, California or something. And yeah, that's really precious stuff. Well, one thing that I ran up against with a client, was it last week? Was she asked if she was going to know who was going to be there on her day of, right?
Yeah.
She asked if we were a big company and all we do is call various contractors in certain areas and then toss somebody to that site in the day of. And she was like, am I going to know who's going to be there for me? And I said, absolutely, because it's the same talented team that shows up at every single wedding.
Yeah.
So that's all part of that, getting to know us. Is we're going to be with you. We're here with you day one till the moment that things are delivered and you approve, and we send you either downloads or a motion book or whatever. And we're through that whole process, which can sometimes be a couple of years.
Yeah.
But you're always dealing with the same people. That and editing, of course, which we do all in-house.
Yeah. Which is the in-house editing is probably one of the most beneficial things about working with us in particular, because not only can changes be made quickly if need be, but also we were the ones that were there on the day of as well. So we have a little bit more insight into, what moments you probably think are more special than others, or just remembering small little details, like if there was a memorial that was put into the bouquet or something like that.
Right.
There's little things that if you just hand that off to another editing service or company, they don't know what's in that footage. They're just going to put together the pretty stuff, and then that's it. And you lose all of that individual essence from the day. So when we edit here, it's great that I remember exactly what the groom was so excited about, and we can work that into the film, or someone that the bride missed,
And I mean, even as simple as it sounds silly, but I know what the father of the groom looks like.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. I don't have to go to the ceremony and be like, all right, he's coming in next. Okay, I got to remember that person now. You saw him, so it's having familiarity with individuals is huge.
There's just so much information that just gets lost if you're not also editing the films.
If you're using that outside contracted
so much
editor.
Information that just gets lost.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly can be done well, I'm sure. I'm sure it's done well a lot.
Yeah, there's certain films that it would be fine for.
But you're kind of just taking a gamble, I think. I think that's the risk, is that with an in-house editor who knows the context of the wedding, that's huge because they can tell that story in context. But if you're giving it to a third-party editor, they might nail it, but they might not. I mean, it's totally, just up to how good that editor is at interpreting that footage.
Yeah.
Well, then you guys get to film with intent.
Yeah.
Right? So you see part of the story happening, and you know exactly where you want that to appear in the short or the feature film.
Yeah, so for example, sometimes there's the couples, their suites have, maybe similar architecture, and we film them in similar spots, and in the edit I want to, do some type of cool transition to meld those pieces together, and so we film for that.
Right.
Whereas, if I filmed it and then handed it off to someone who didn't know I got those shots and didn't know that was my intention, that wouldn't make it into the edit.
Right.
But yeah, we do that a lot, where we see something the day of, we plan for it, we film it, and then we can put it together. And that's a huge benefit. And it makes for some really cool moments in some of our films.
Oh, like the one that we filmed downtown in Richmond, where the venue had multi-tier frontage.
Yeah.
Right, and we had the groom above the bride. They couldn't see each other.
Yeah.
But we could see them both, and we captured them kind of looking up and down at each other with a drone.
Yeah.
And if we weren't able to plan that and shoot it with intent, it would have never happened.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But it was a brilliant piece for it. It showed off the venue. It had that mystique that they're there but they can't see each other.
Yeah.
And that was really lovely. The photographer was all over it too.
Yeah.
Just so excited to collaborate that deeply with a videographer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because they have to be, the couple has to be in on that. Because that's kind of, it's a really inconvenient ask if they weren't, aware that it was going to be happening. Hey, can we get all of the wedding party out in single file lines across the balconies at the same time?
And it would also be difficult if we hadn't met them multiple times before.
Yeah, if there's no rapport, how are you gonna?
Yeah, because we also did an engagement video a year before with that couple.
Right.
We also, there were a lot of other things that we did with them, and site visits, multiple site visits and things like that.
Yeah.
So, they felt very comfortable with us. We asked them to do those things, to make those special moments.
Right. Yeah. We knew it was within their realm of comfort.
And in just the grand scale, that film is just jam packed with emotional content. It's really it's a really well told story as far as stories go.
Yeah.
It's really, there's a lot of just moments and a lot of written moments. It's really, really good. And that's why.
Yeah.
Really deep, very, very rich story.
Yeah.
When you see those people even in town, you're excited to see them and they're excited to see you.
Yeah.
So it's about developing that, now we have long-term relationships with a whole bunch of our couples because they spent time with us before.
Yeah.
Now we get to watch them as a couple afterwards, which is just really golden. One thing that we always is always a challenge is one, reacting to a client's inquiry as quickly as possible. And if it's during a work day, in the middle of a work day, Monday through Friday, I'm usually at my computer and I'm watching these things and I'm all over it. But when you get an inquiry on a Friday night and you have a job first thing Saturday morning and you're not getting back into the office or back home or in front of a computer until 11 o'clock at night, then that 1 hour turnaround comes to 24, maybe even 36 because you got home from the job and the wedding and you went to bed, slept in, right? So now you're a day and a half out. So, how do you keep the client engaged in over that kind of period of time and then get them to respond to you? Because it's a challenge I work with all the time. Is and the lead generating websites like Wedding Wire and The Knot and Zola, right? They tell you that your responses to clients need to be brief and quick.
Yeah.
And then they if you're not to their briefness, they like downscore you.
Oh.
Oh yeah. So I was trying to get some information across to this inquiry so I could grab her attention.
Yeah.
Because it took me a little longer to respond to her. So I was trying to get a little bit more information in front of her to hook her, right? And then it was like, you did that wrong. Nope, you did that wrong. So you didn't respond in time, and your response was too long.
That's interesting.
So it gave me a bad grade. But then, but I haven't heard back from this client.
Mm-hmm.
So then, then what I have to do is like knock on their door the next day, And then you start feeling like a pest, and then they still don't respond to you.
Yeah.
And so, to all of our wonderful clients out there, it's like if you want to engage with us, please just it's just polite to say thank you for the information, and then give some kind of what your plan is.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the information. Thank you for your quick response. Either ask a question or say, I'll get back with you in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Something so you know what the person on the other side is doing or thinking.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we're just, we're tossing stuff out there trying to beg you to respond to us.
Yeah.
I mean, you knocked at the door, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're opening that door, and then you ran away. So that's what we ask of our clients. It's like, we're gonna take the time. We're gonna be there for you. But then you can't run away and ignore us. Which is a good lesson to all of us, because now that kind of whole perspective has changed how I interact with the emails that I get. If I get one that's not critical, that's not a client asking for an October wedding day.
Yeah.
But it's, like maybe it's a group of wedding vendors.
Yeah.
And they're saying, do you want to come to this?
Mm-hmm.
Then I find myself being more attentive because I know what it's like to be on the other side.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been a good personal lesson.
So with like Wedding Wire or something like that, when you're interacting with clients, because I understand that some of these platforms, it has to stay within the platform and things like that, right?
Doesn't
Like
have to.
okay.
They want you to.
Okay.
And if you don't respond within the platform, then, or if you don't respond in the platform, then you have to at least tell the platform that you responded.
Okay.
If that makes sense. You can mark the email read, or responded, or replied.
Okay.
But you have to do that manually. If you don't do it within their customer portal.
Okay.
You can do it via email, but then you're doing it with a, this email comes from a vendor at Wedding Wire, or however,
Okay.
or from the Knot, however they phrase that. So it's a specific email address that then those companies can then tag and look at.
Okay.
And those companies, they take that information, and that's what they base their sales training on. So they're looking at all of this data, and so then that's what they're lovely and have all these educational seminars. But that's how they get the information, is that they kind of require you to work within their platform so they can get the information. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because if you answer something wrong to the speaker who's speaking, so if the speaker says, "All right, how many people here, reply to an inquiry at least 5 times before they give up?" And if you say, "I do," but you don't, they'll call you out on it.
Oh, interesting.
They'll go, "Oh, okay, well that's great, but I doubt all of you are doing that." I mean, they won't call you out specifically, but they'll question it.
Wow.
Because they know. They have the statistics. They know who you are when you apply to the seminar, so they know what the statistics are, and they know what you're doing.
Wow.
They've got your file.
They've got your file.
Just like the FBI. music is a question that I get from a lot of clients is, am I going to be able to pick the music?
For our wedding films, right? Music is it's a big thing, but how we go about selecting it is, dependent on the day of the wedding, the couple, and what their story is. But it's really important that the couple be able to, in the end, post it on social media, whether it's YouTube or wherever. And so we license our music through, we particularly use MusicBed. So, and what's great about that is it's pretty easy to do that process, but there's a huge selection on there. What I enjoy is, as long as it takes some time, I really enjoy that process of finding the right song for the couple. It can take a while.
What's a while?
I've been on there for hours before looking for the right song or right songs, because sometimes we put multiple songs in a film, and it can take a while because you're trying to fit the vibe of the couple,
right?
And you're also looking for ways that either the lyrics or something remind you of their story and who they are, and can like amplify that.
So you might be looking for specific keywords in the lyrics that will help enhance the footage.
Yeah.
That they'll click, they fit together.
Because you might find some generic love songs. You might find some things that are very cinematic sounding, but then you might have to rely on the toast or something else to help tell that story. But sometimes I try to have a balance. Like, I want the music to also aid in the story, as well as whatever speeches or toast they had that day. So everything feels thought out. And so pick the music, and once we pick the music, that's what we edit to. So we're not just editing the footage and then putting a track down. We're editing to the highs and lows of the music, transitions, where they need to be.
This is like the first thing you do in the process.
Yeah, it's the first thing. And once we pick that music, then what I'm doing is I'm looking at like all of that A-roll material, like the speeches, the letter readings, vows, something from the officiant. All that stuff goes into play, and I put it down on the timeline. I'm looking at the order of things. Special moments. I'm trying to have those special moments play on certain parts of the music that have like a transcendent feeling, or just
crescendo, right? Or the tension.
Yeah. And so I put those moments down purposefully on different parts of the music, so that once you get to that part, you really feel it. And so those are the first things I do, and that's why the music part is so important and why it happens first, and then everything is based around that. The film is usually pretty solid at that point because of that music foundation. And I know we usually don't get too many edits regarding music. We usually, if there's a clip or something that gets taken out at the end of the film, we'll do that. But usually, by then the couple they really enjoy the music part of it, and then that story they also love. So, we haven't had too many issues with people not liking the music or anything like that.
Yeah. You said you liked picking out music. I don't. I do not. It's terrible. It's
painful.
It's painful. It really is painful. Like 3 hours, and there's a reason that some of these songs are on a royalty-free music website. You know what I'm saying? Like there's plenty of good stuff. All of our wedding films have great music. Because you got to find the gold though. You got to go mine for it.
You got to mine for it.
But it is pretty crazy when you find it though, because it seems like you're not looking at, like, you're listening to song after song, and every single one seems like this couldn't be further from correct. Like I can't even imagine that. Like with this footage, I'm not finding anything relevant. As you're looking through MusicBed, you'll just be listening to song after song, thinking like this one couldn't be further from correct. Each one is just horrible. None of them fit. And then you'll just find it. You'll just find the song, and you're like, that is the only song that could have worked.
Yeah.
It's crazy how that happens every single time I've picked music, but
Yeah, I mean, I definitely sift through a lot. And that part of it I don't like just because, but when I hear certain things, like sometimes I hear an instrumental and I'm like, oh, that would be cool for like a 1 minute intro, before the next song I have.
It does spur new ideas sometimes.
Yeah, so because when I close my eyes, I see visuals attached to music. So that's how I work. So when I'm just sitting there listening, I can see certain moments from the wedding day happening at certain times in the music, and that's when I know I found the right song. But yeah, sometimes you'll hear a song and it's like the lyrics, I can't use these lyrics because this is about a breakup or something. But the song sounds so beautiful.
Oh, but the melody, the music, yeah.
And then sometimes out of principle, I just won't even use the song, like the instrumental, because I'm like, if they ever like got the name of that, exact song and they wanted to listen to it, it'd be weird because it's like a breakup thing.
Yeah.
So that's something like I try to consciously like just avoid. Like even if I love the instrumental, I try to just
right. You don't want to evoke the universe's wrath.
Yeah. Try to send good vibes,
Oh, all the time. You got it. Well, and we've had couples who have been really uncomfortable with that idea of not being able to select their music, at least when they first get to know. Their first inquiry is, do I have any control over it? Which tells me that they've had, or a friend has had, a not so good experience with it if they're going to ask that question.
Yeah.
And of course the answer is yes. You do have control over it, and we like to, since it's the first thing that you lay down.
Yeah.
Then we want them involved very, very early on.
Yeah.
So I've said to them, okay, we'd be glad to send you. We'll get the idea of what your vibe is from the wedding and from the reception of the band and the DJ, what kind of music you like, and they could also send us who their favorite artists are.
Yeah.
Or their favorite genres, or he hates this, she loves that kind of thing. And then we can send them 3 songs. And I've told them before, if you don't like any of those 3 songs, we'll send you another 3 songs.
Yeah.
And 3 is a magic number because it's just not overwhelming. You can make a decision. You can rank those pretty easily. If we sent you 10 songs, and you'd be spending so much time.
Yeah.
But we've done that in a couple of cases where clients have a real need, or either a need to be involved in the process, or have had. Or I've heard of somebody having a bad experience, so they feel more there's a comfort level in knowing how that base is going to be laid. So we work with those people.
Absolutely.
We just don't say, no, sorry, put something together and this is your end product and you don't have any say and you can't make any edits. I mean, that's just not cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people are potentially disappointed when they find out like they can't use their favorite Taylor Swift song in their wedding film.
Yeah.
But what we can do is we can get you somewhere close.
Yeah.
We can get you somewhere in the ballpark. At least with like tone, presence of like whoever like the singer or the artist is, that you can get a lot of those things close. So like I think that's another potential survey question. Favorite musical artists.
Yeah.
Because like if you tell me like, oh, I'm into rock or I'm into rap, or
oh yeah, there's so much
of it. But if you tell me like one artist you like, I kind of get it. I sort of start to get your taste a little bit, and so that's huge.
So true. Yeah, we'll definitely incorporate that. This is the very beginning of like 2024. So where do you want to be at the end of the year? We have a January 2025.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you guys have got your eyes on some crazy new equipment. So, like, what's your vision? What are you hoping for? Tell me a little bit more about why you want that equipment.
Yeah.
What is it going to do?
Yeah. So this year, I really want to be able to, get more of the wedding party involved in the story during pre-ceremony and things like that. And so, with some of the new gear that we're getting, more microphones, more ways to be able to sync things. Yeah, so with some of the equipment that we're getting, more microphones, time code, and things like that can help aid us in our process of acquisition. on the day, to tell, better stories of those intimate moments that happen that we would not have been able to get before because either for audio reasons or something.
Yeah.
So maybe the pre-ceremony, the bride is having a conversation with her mom, and they're talking about like how her and the groom first met, whereas if we can have the mom mic'd up as well as the bride, for that pre-ceremony, that would be amazing, because that would just add into like the little bits that we can put into.
Yeah. No, I can see that in my head right now, just like getting the last of her makeup done, having a emotional conversation. Like there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
That we're able to incorporate at the moment, or that we currently do incorporate. And I think that would just, it would elevate it so much at a different level. I really like that.
Yeah, and those moments come so naturally, and they're unpredictable. And so if we're prepared to capture those things, then we can include them.
Right. And if we're prepared to capture those things, then we'll think to capture those things. Because if we're thinking, well, this is a long shot that we're going to even be able to get the audio off, like the camera audio off my shot here, but it's a really good emotional moment, we wouldn't get those moments as often. But if we know that these three people are mic'd, like we got eyes on them at all times.
Yeah.
And,
Very true.
And we're always thinking like,
Love that.
what are they doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you just say something kind of vaguely, poetic, at any given time, we're gonna have our ears perked and we're gonna think, oh man, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Right. That goes back to that whole idea of shooting with intent, shooting to the edit.
Yeah. Yeah. Because and sometimes you get events and weddings that maybe the toasts are very quick. They're they're sweet and short, and maybe also that wedding had shorter vows because maybe the couple wanted to do private vows or something else, or something on a different day or something.
Yeah.
By being able to pick up more story elements during the day, we still have the ability to make a great film. But sometimes when we're creating these films, it would have been nice to have one additional element to include to make it just feel a little bit more full.
Another chapter, another paragraph.
Yeah.
Another little element to the story to enrich it.
Or like a nice closing element or a nice opening element even.
Yeah, and it's just kind of depending on the type of event we're talking about.
Yeah.
Because there are, you mentioned some types of, events and where there's short toasts or, the letter readings aren't happening. There's not a ton there. Sometimes like traditional affairs or, traditional things get in the way of those types of things. You want to kind of do both as a couple because you want to do your traditional wedding day that, say you're Roman Catholic. And so the ceremony of a Roman Catholic wedding, like you do want all of those things, but at the same time, a heartfelt letter reading, that footage that's something you also want,
The personal element.
The personal elements. And so I think having more ability for us, like microphone-wise or audio-wise, would be huge. Because then we could diversify what we could give those types of clients. It's like we just have more ability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it also goes to like their personality.
Yeah.
Some people, they really are about the informal moments than they are the formal moments.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
So it'll help us service different types of clients as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, the amount of like events. If I interviewed somebody at an event and they seemed like a very charismatic people's person up until that point, talking to everybody, making jokes. The second you get them on camera, they tighten up and it's a lot more difficult for them. And so if those informal moments, just like you just said, that's what's real. That's the real stuff. I really like that. And anytime at this point that you've incorporated some of that informal stuff like into the films, like it's been really, really cool.
Yeah. I remember this one wedding that we did out at their, out at their farm.
I know exactly what you're talking. I know the soundbite you're talking about.
Yeah, when
exactly.
he goes past on this,
and he says, "I'm getting married."
Yeah, I'm getting married. It just happened. I just
yeah.
happened to get the shot, and I had to clean up the audio a little bit because it was so impromptu, and he's on like this loud go-kart or golf cart. But that's great, and it just happened, and I put it in. But yeah, I want to be able to get more of that.
Yeah, I want to basically make documentary style weddings in the cinematic format.
Yeah.
Like it can still be, 8 to 10 minutes, and look gorgeous.
Yeah.
While also delivering fully on like that documentary story.
Yeah.
That's what.
Nice. So this is the year of audio. Really, really putting some importance and bringing that to life.
Yeah.
Or more to the forefront.
The year of the ear.
The year of the ear. Okay.
I love it. Well, I'm excited. I can't wait.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited. And I think everyone's gonna have like a fun time with it too. I think, especially people that are like the mother of the bride. Like I want her voice to shine, especially.
Yeah.
They do so much on the wedding day, and they just have so much information that I feel like takes a back seat.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
So they would be one of the people that I'm like super excited to get more story elements from.
Yeah.
Just hear their perspective.
Yep, she just gets ushered to the front of the ceremony. Doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
She might get a dance with her son.
Yeah.
But if it's not her son, she's not going to dance with her daughter. She might get a dance with her son-in-law. But then, she's not a part of the bouquet toss if the couple is still doing that.
Yeah.
And she takes the woman who has spent her life raising you kind of plays a whole back seat to the wedding, and to have her voice shine and to be present and there. And even when, if the mother and the father or the couple give the toast during the wedding, it's usually the man who starts off the toast, and then the wife might follow up with something shorter, but it's not.
Or sometimes the man, or like husband and wife walk up and the man talks the whole time.
Well, she doesn't get to say anything.
Yeah. She's
right.
like,
I've seen that too. But you don't hardly ever see the opposite, where the mother of the bride takes the stage, holds the stage. So we need to pay attention to her. We really need to make her shine.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. She's done a lot of work to get to that day.
Yeah.
She needs to celebrate too.
No, that's what I'm excited about this year.
Well, you guys did this really brilliant little. It was a sketch, on vendor meals.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got the bride and the groom coming to the stage for the first dance.
And you guys did it in such a great way that it told a story and it kind of got a point across.
Yeah.
But I would love to kind of just have it said that there's a reason behind this.
Yeah.
Okay? You guys work an average of a 10-hour day. Sometimes it's 12 or 13, right? But you guys are working every single minute of that day.
Yeah.
And you're hungry. And I try to keep feeding you with, water and, and protein bars and stuff. But, that hot meal that you get to have, and you get to sit down and put your feet up for half an hour to be luxurious, right? It's so important to help fuel you for your energy to kind of go on for the rest of the day. So, and I'm sure you guys have stories. Do you have any stories you want to share about vendor meal?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of experiences. Some crazier than others, right? And going back to your point, it's, we're not demanding too much. We're not asking too much. very humble. It's something nice to look forward to because the rest of the day is so hectic.
Right. Yeah.
And we're in charge of capturing everything. So we have to be ready at any moment to capture said everything.
Right. Yeah.
And so, there's been instances where, by the time it's time to eat, we'll eat last, which doesn't help us because there's not much to film while people are eating. So we might as well be eating at the same time as the rest of everyone. That way we can be ready for toast.
Yeah.
And so when that doesn't happen, and then, vendor meals get pushed back to later, then, sometimes they'll give us our vendor meals 5 minutes before the toast start.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not just that we can get our meals and wait to eat them. We have to set up for toast. We have to,
Set up. What do you mean set up? What do you?
So we have to set up lights because we light our toast. We have to set up cameras and tripods. We have to make sure that the audio is recording and working properly. There are things that we have to do and communicate with the DJ on where the mic stand needs to go or where they need to give the toast. So our lights actually light the correct thing.
Right.
So in those cases, you need like a half an hour before that happens.
Yeah.
Right. So then if you're served dinner after the guests, then that butts right up against that, and you don't have the one. You either don't have the time to eat, or you don't have the time to prepare. Something suffers. Right?
And then sometimes we're not just. It's not like we're just waiting like in the same area as the guests to eat. Sometimes we might get put into a different room that's a little farther away than we would like to be able to hear what's going on, to make sure we're not missing anything. Sometimes impromptu things happen, during the reception, so it'd be nice to even capture that.
Yeah.
When there's no set time that says, hey, like if we can all just, this is our break, and that way everyone can come back at the same time for toast and those other important elements, That's my biggest thing about vendor meals is the timing and when do we get them.
Right.
The other half of it is sometimes it's a cold meal, sometimes it's a boxed lunch or something like that, which definitely not my favorite. I prefer a hot meal, I'd really prefer that. And sometimes it's insult to injury when it's a boxed lunch, but then they still don't have it ready. Right.
At the time that you need. Yeah.
So sometimes you may feel like a little left out or an afterthought.
Yeah, I don't think it's anybody's fault or anybody having any malintent. It's simply just a symptom of no planner a lot of the time, or just like a experienced planner sometimes. I think that's the main cause of that problem, because the main cause of our vendor meals being off schedule is the wedding being off, or the event in general being off schedule.
Yeah.
So if everything, because it's the last priority. At the end of the day, us eating is the last priority, because we have to get what we have to get in terms of food.
I just don't want to miss anything.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like, if stuff's off schedule, then it becomes hard for us, or difficult for us to know when we can eat, because then there's almost not even really a designated time. That time is sort of evaporated, because now we're in new time with this new schedule.
With the new delay.
Right.
Oh, it's 20 minutes behind.
Right.
It's like, what does that mean?
Right. And,
for us.
And on weddings with really solid planners and really good communication.
Communication. Yeah.
That just doesn't happen. Even if it goes off schedule, it gets back on.
Yeah.
And so and also if you have a decent planner, then they know how to take care of the vendor meal situation. It's a thought that they have, like, oh, let's make sure our vendors are taken care of.
Yeah.
So I think it just comes down to getting yourself a good planner.
Yeah, I know we're talking a lot about this, and to some people it might seem like, geez, guys, you're complaining. You're being paid to work there. So what's the big deal, But it's an appreciation for your level of skill, and for the amount of energy this takes, and that you have had no time in the last 8 hours to sit down, to breathe, and to eat something that can sustain you until 11:30 or 12 o'clock at night. And that relates right back to the quality of the product.
Yeah.
So that's why it's a big deal to us, is because we want the opportunity
Yeah.
to deliver to the couple absolute best work that we can. And to do that, we have to be at our best.
Yeah.
Which means hydrated and fed and nourished. So we were just, we spent a lot of time on it, but we want for people to know that this is important in what they get delivered at the very end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, because we don't want to have just started eating, 5 minutes before toast, and then toast come, and then, maybe not all of our cameras are recording yet, and dad has already grabbed the mic and started talking.
Yeah, we set up and get a bad angle because we didn't,
Right.
we didn't have the 5 minutes to plan out and scope out where we're gonna set the tripod. A million things can happen.
Yeah.
If you do with just the slightest, miscues.
Yeah.
So.
We also understand that stuff happens.
Yeah.
And we understand and we work with everybody just as best as we can.
Yeah, that's it. It's just like working with people and communicating with people. As long as everybody's talking on the day of,
Yeah.
if everybody's chatty with each other, then everybody's gonna have a good day.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part.
Absolutely. And this all goes back to building those relationships before the wedding actually happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there we go. It's all about pre-planning and getting to know everybody so you can work as a real team.
Yeah.
It is skyrocketing.
I actually don't know if I've ever paid attention to if someone shakes with their left hand. I don't know.
No, they don't. I don't know if anybody's ever checked with them.
If somebody extends their left hand to me, I don't trust them. It's a weird move, man. Hit me with the.
Well, it's just, what you're doing is you're showing your sword hand, right? You don't have a weapon in it. That's the whole idea. Between shaking hands is you have an empty hand.
Oh. But my sword's like in my pocket though, or like in the sheath, so I can just pull it out.
I don't know.
You have to do it with your left hand. Most people aren't left-handed. This one is
Ooh.
engaged. This one really
Yeah,
isn't
you
like
can't
that
get to the
functional.
sword over. Yeah.
It's always on this side.
That's so interesting.
That's so cool.
Same thing about like spiral staircases.
Yeah.
They're meant for people coming down right-handed, not for people going up.
Oh, yeah.
That's why they spiral in that certain direction.
Oh.
Because they're for attackers coming down. To inhibit the people coming up.
Oh.
Because they're not meant to be climbed.
Not with a sword in your right hand. Not with a weapon.
Oh, yeah, because that's so.
That's where the center pole is, right? When you come down, you've got the extra room.
That's so funny.
I was always thinking whenever I try to take my sword up a spiral staircase, I'm always like, why is this hard? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is this so difficult?
Why did they make this so hard
It's
on me?
almost like it was on purpose. You know what I'm saying? I guess so.
It was on purpose. The little things
That's
Ann
crazy.
knows. This is so weird.